Hey everyone, what's up? It is sorry, I just blanked out, just brain farted there. It is Thursday, June 14th, 2018. It is 1:32 Pacific time in the afternoon. And as you can see, I am here to give you could drink a Pepsi there. I like the fact that they're going a little retro this year. Pretty cool. And they have new designs based on the music acts during the generations. Michael Jackson, Ray Charles, and Britney Spears. I think they have one more. I'm not really sure. I think those are the only three I know of. But yeah, anyway, I'm here to do my Money in the Bank and NXT Takeover Chicago predictions. And as the description tells you, how I see it will going, how I see it will go, and why. Matter of fact, make sure I said that. Let me make sure that I said that in the descriptions. Yeah, basically, I'm here to let you all know how I think and feel they should go and why and also kind of give you an idea of how it's probably going to go, knowing WWE. Now, I saw Deluxe Man's review on the event. I saw his review. Now, he did his review, not his review, but I saw his prediction and previews, and he did it basically 3 days ago. And, of course, that being before Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live this past Tuesday. And, I don't think he's wrong in some of his thoughts, his predictions as to how he sees certain things happening. But honestly, there could be, what I'm looking at is there could be some things that he's right about and some things he may not be right about. So without further ado, though, let's take a look at these cards and kind of give you my thoughts on how I feel they will go and should go and probably most likely can go, and probably how WWE, mostly how I think just by what I'm hearing from people like Deluxe Man and reading about and looking at through the highlights and stuff, how I feel these things are going to turn out. So first of all, let's start with NXT Takeover Chicago 2. The reason it's called NXT Chicago 2 is because they had Takeover in Chicago last year, and this is going to be the second year having it in Chicago. Because the previous year they had it, it was before, I think it was before Backlash they had it last year. And a lot has changed. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot that has changed here. As a matter of fact, there's a lot that has changed. So most of these people that were here on this show are now on the main roster. I mean, you want a big difference of NXT roster. You want a big difference between NXT last year and NXT this year, especially when it comes to TakeOver Chicago. Look who's on the main roster. Asuka last year was the NXT Women's Champion. She's now on the main roster. And this year she's competing for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami won the NXT roster. Now Bobby Roode is competing in Money in the Bank. Last year he was defending the NXT title. And Hideo Itami looks like he's going to be in for a push at the Cruiserweight title on 205 Live. And then you take a look at the Authors of Pain. They were the tag team champs, Amsden, and now they are basically how do I put this? They're on the main roster. They just haven't been utilized as much. Same with Eric Young and Sanity. They're on the main roster. Just have not debuted yet. I think they're ready. They're waiting for Nikki Cross, because I think someone on SmackDown, the writing team on SmackDown, was like, "Yeah, that's great, you got him here, but it's just not the same without Nikki. We need Nikki." So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I think what's going to happen, and then one of the featured matches, if not the main event of the night, DIY Johnny Gargano, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa were DIY. They were a tag team, and they lost a ladder match to the Authors of Pain. And believe it or not, this match, which was the main event of last year's TakeOver, the ending of it is what set up what we're going to get this year. A whole year started right at this moment. 1 year ago, and I know the way the booking staff and creative staff and production staff for NXT works. They're going to basically go back a year ago. They're going to talk about a year ago on how this all began, because 1 year ago, this is when it started. I don't know if Deluxe Man, you pointed that out, but 1 year ago, right here in Chicago, is when this thing started. 1 year ago, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa ended up starting the feud when Ciampa attacked Johnny at the end of their match. And true, the injury may have taken Tommaso out for a while, and they had to hold off a bit. But yet, here we are, 1 year later. Now you're going to have another, and now, big difference is they're not teaming, they're facing each other. So, let's take a look at this card, and it's basically about the same amount of matches we had last year. So it shouldn't be too long of a card, but then again, the shorter the card, the longer the matches might go, especially if they have some significance to them. Excuse me. So let's take a look at this card. We have 3 championships on the line. We have the NXT Tag Team titles. We have the NXT Championship, and we have the NXT Women's Championship. Now, if they have time, they might add a 6th match in there. Maybe that'll be for the North American Championship. I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at these matches and how I feel they're going to go. First match is the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong taking on Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. They're part of a stable now with Pete Dunne, I think. I think they're part of some kind of stable. It's like One Up or something. I don't know what it is. Anyway. How do I see this going? Well, right now, we're in the process of the UK tournament. And both Oney Lorcan and I think Danny Burch are kind of British. Well, I know Danny Burch is British. And Oney Lorcan, hell, he's been around, apparently. He was born in 85, but he's been around. He's actually worked for various promotions. Let's see. CZW, PWG, Top Rope Promotions, and Chaotic Wrestling, where he was Beef Bullsick. He is a former one-time CZW World Heavyweight Champion. I think I've seen something on him about that. Yeah. I think I've seen something about him. I think he was part of a group, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. He was part of some kind of group with Danny Havoc, Matt Bailey, and Dave Chris. So, yeah. Yeah, he was part of the front, is what he was. He was part of the front in CZW. And now he's in in NXT, and he's competing for the NXT Tag Team titles. So, how's this going to go? Well, apparently from what Deluxe Man said, these guys like to really go at it. They really like to, excuse me. They really like to go at it. Let's see. Oh, Danny Burch has been part of WWE before, and then he went to TNA and then back to WWE. Yeah, how about that? Anyway, according to what Deluxe Man says, these guys are the kind. I mean, you add in Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, two of the most well-renowned outside of WWE, now to the part of WWE, if you will. I will admit, it sounds like on paper you have the makings of a good match. And the way I see it going, obviously, is the Undisputed Era is really clicking right now as a four-man group. So unless WWE and the NXT booking team decides to throw a curveball and have Roderick turn on Kyle, and then maybe reveal that he only joined the group because he got to know each and every one of the weaknesses and how they think and how they tick, and it makes it easier for him now to go after Adam Cole and the NXT North American title, or prevent Adam Cole from even going after the NXT title. I guess that would make sense. But I don't really know. I don't really see that being. I mean, I see that as being a possible scenario they can go with. But right now, the Undisputed Era is clicking really well as a group, and if they get called up before the year's out, WWE is going to want to call them up as a foursome. They're going to. Here's the thing. Here's what a lot of people say: WWE on the main roster, whether it's SmackDown or Raw, depending on how you feel about the creative teams for each. The one thing that I think is really lacking for both shows is a strong stable, a strong faction that basically, no matter what you do, seems to always be a step ahead. The last time we ever had something like that, some might say was the Nexus. In a sense, it was. But in my opinion, the real faction that stood out and really seemed to be a step ahead at times was Evolution. That's the truth. Evolution, Triple H, Ric Flair, Batista, Randy Orton, they stood out as the faction you wanted to see get the butts kicked every night. They're the faction that stood out whether or not the authority figure was on their side or they weren't. They were the faction that you wanted to see get the butt kicked. But they were always the faction that always seemed to be a step ahead of everybody. Always seemed to have all the answers when you thought, always seemed to, as Roddy Piper would put it, always seemed to change the questions when you think you had the answers. And they always seem to be the ones to have all the momentum, all the gold. Remember, at one point, Evolution had all the gold on Raw. It wasn't for a long term, but still, it was a moment that showed the dominance of Evolution. And that's what I see the Undisputed Era as. I see them possibly being the answer to being the next Evolution. Them being the answer to being the next Evolution, to the point that if they continue to click and succeed and get that momentum behind them on NXT, the moment they get called up as a group, whether it's to Raw or SmackDown, I can see, depending on the creative team, whether you like them or you don't, I can see the creative team at least positioning the Undisputed Era as a force to be reckoned with. I can see that. I can see that. But they need to continue the momentum in NXT. So, do they do that at Chicago? I think they do. I think they honestly do continue the momentum. Now, the Lex Man's right about one thing. WWE, mostly when it comes to NXT, likes to throw us a curveball. They like us to think they're going to do it one way and then they go the other. The only reason Lorcan and Burch would become tag team champions is because right now you got the UK tournament going on as we speak. You have the UK tournament going on as we speak. I think that's what it is. Yeah, you got the UK tournament. Hold on. Going on. It's supposed to air on the 25th and 26th. So see here. I'm trying to look. Okay, it's supposed to take place on the tapings are supposed to take place on the 18th and the 19th. Trying to see here. Anyway, with that around the corner, you might think, okay, they're going to want to give the championships to Lorcan and Burch. You know, Burch being British descent, Lorcan being around for as long as he has been with, I mean, not just all over, but just being there with WWE and going through what he's done, despite being a former CZW World Champion. You know, you might say, well, they might give it to Lorcan and Burch, even if it's for a week. Even if it's for a week, and then they decide at the first tapings back at Full Sail to put the belts back on the Undisputed Era, so be it. At least you give Burch and Lorcan a feel-good moment. At least you do that. But do I see that happening? No, I don't see it happening. I don't see Lorcan or Burch winning the match. I mean, I see them giving them a good tag team championship fight, I should say. I see them giving them a good tag team championship fight. But I don't see Lorcan and Burch winning. I see this being a good opening contest, but I don't see them winning. I see the Undisputed Era continuing the momentum. And I think what they're building towards with the Undisputed Era is either they're going to keep them together, which I think they should do if you want to bring them up as a group and make them and position them as the next evolution, because I see them as that. I do. I don't know why. I just get this aura about Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Riley, and Fish being like the next evolution. So I think they need to stay together. So the next step is either finding out who the next opponents would be, which I would guess is going to be War Raiders. I would guess that's going to be them. Or they do what I don't want them to do, and that's build towards maybe a disbandment of Undisputed Era. I don't want to see that happen. I know Deluxe Man doesn't want to see that happen. I know nobody, not even OTR Essential, whether they want to admit it or not, with all due respect, doesn't want to see that happen. But it's a possibility that it could happen. We just have to wait and find out. But I don't see the Undisputed Era losing the tag team titles. I really don't. As a matter of fact, let me take a look at the tag team division on NXT. Let me take a look at that tag team division. Doesn't show like it. Doesn't say anything about a tag team division. Dang it! Come on, guys. Where's your tag teams at? Trying to see. Doesn't show anything about the tag teams, as far as I know. Well, we got heavy machinery. We have what is it? Mount blah, blah, blah. Let's see. We have British Strong Style, which is a UK group. Um, let's see. We have Mountain Mustache or something like that. I think that's the name. Mountain Mustache or something like that. So we have that team. Let's see. Like I say, we have the War Raiders. We have the Mighty, formerly TM61. We have that. Let's see. Let's see here. Oh, we have the Street Profits. We have the Street Profits. And let's see. Well, I'm sure we have other teams as well. They just haven't put them together, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I just don't see the Undisputed Era losing the belts just yet. If they do, like I said, it'll only be for maybe a short while. That's it. I don't see them keeping the titles for about maybe at least a week. So, um, I mean, unless they bring the Revival back, which would be, it looks like they want to do. You know, like I said, which looks like they probably want to try to do. Um, again, I just don't. Overall, I just don't see them. I don't see the Undisputed Era losing. Period. Just looking through the information, trying to find out what the tag teams are there. But yeah, you know, you have War Raiders, you have the Street Profits, you have Heavy Machinery. Um, you have that one team that's kind of like a dysfunctional team, but they always seem to work together, losing or winning. And I'm sure they have other tag teams they're bringing in or something like that. You got, like I said, Mountain Mustache or something like that. You got that team from the UK. So, basically, I don't think, I don't think honestly, the Undisputed Era is going to lose the belts. I really don't. If they do, again, it's got to be to a team that's people want to see become champions. And I think the only two legitimate tag teams to probably do that would be Street Profits and the War Raiders. That's what I see. I see the Street Profits and the War Raiders being the only ones, in my opinion, to basically like I said, to basically what I'm trying to say is I just see them because I'm looking at some information here too. I just see them being being the only ones to those are the only two tag teams that I know of right now that I think are legitimate enough, in my opinion, to probably take the belts off of the Undisputed Era. That those are the only ones that I see. Honestly, I do. I see, like I said, I just see them being the ones to do it. I see them being the ones to do it. So, because I'm looking now, the mighty TM61, I could see doing it especially with the new attitude. Oh, there it is. Ridrix Moss and Tino Sabatelli. I could probably see them legitimately going after it. Maybe if they don't go with the breakup angle on that tag team. But then you also have this other group, the Forgotten Sons, that has Wesley Blake in it. We haven't seen much about them, but I haven't read some of the tapings either. So, like I said, I haven't seen all the tapings yet either. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, if I was to pick other tag teams besides Lorcan and Birch to probably go after the tag team titles and beat the Undisputed Era, I would have to say it's either the Street Profits or War Raiders, or maybe even the Mighty. Those are the three I see. Heavy Machinery might get it for a feel-good moment because they're that kind of tag team. But the three I see would be the Mighty, the Street Profits, and War Raiders. Probably the most out of all of them would be the War Raiders. Because if you're going to build these two up, Rowan and Hanson, as these big unbeatable monsters, basically like the next Arthurs of Pain, there you go. Perfect, perfect scenario for them to be in. So anyway, sorry I rambled on and dragged on about that. That's my apologies, my fault. I was also looking up information, so I got a bit distracted. Sorry about that. But yeah, I just don't see the Undisputed Era winning, and I don't see, as the Lexman put it, this being the curveball that WWE throws us. I don't see that. Next match, I think, would be Ricochet and Velvet Dream. Now, you might say, well, shouldn't that open the show and get people off their feet? Yeah, it could, but then again, you want to have something that's going to keep the interest. NXT Takeover shows always seem to do that. But if you want something to really keep the intrigue going, especially after opening up with a hard-hitting tag team match, this would be good. Now, here's the one thing a lot of people look at this. They see now some people would say, pun intended, or pun unintended, this is a dream match, to say the least. Because you basically have two guys that, from what we saw at TakeOver New Orleans, from what we've seen as his time in Lucha Underground's Prince Puma, and from what people have described Velveteen Dream and seen Velveteen Dream do, people have said that this is a match that will steal the show, be one of the show stealers. And I totally agree with that. Because of what we saw Velveteen Dream do in New Orleans, and even previously against Aleister Black, who is now the NXT champion. Combine that with what Ricochet has done as himself, as Prince Puma, that kind of exhibitional professional classic, if you will, that he had with Ospreay. You got somebody here, ladies and gentlemen, that will take it up a notch. You got a match here that will take it up a notch. And the only other match later that night in this card that's going to be able to live up to the excitement is Gargano and Ciampa. But I'll get into that in a moment. But Ricochet and Dream, I definitely see these two stealing the show, being one of the show stealers. I see these guys being able to go out there and just not necessarily let it all out, but I see them close. I see them close to doing that. I see them close to letting it all out. In other words, being free to be able to do things they couldn't do before, or they couldn't do maybe if they were on the main roster. So, to me, this one's going to have people holding their breath. I'll put it that way. There's going to be some moments in this match. There's going to be some moments in this match. It's going to make you go, holy crap. I did not see that coming on. Holy crap. I did not see him doing that. Or I didn't think he could do that. So, in my honest opinion, I think this is a toss-up. Now, Deluxe Man and anybody else might say, oh, well, Velveteen Dream needs it more than Ricochet. Ricochet is at that position right now, not just in WWE, but in all professional wrestling and sports entertainment, to where he can suffer a loss. Perhaps. But remember, NXT or no NXT, this is WWE we're talking about. And under the right hands, WWE would look at someone like Ricochet and say, this guy's got to go over. This guy is the most talked about. This guy was the most... Basically, WWE, like I say, NXT or no NXT, has always looked at a guy like Ricochet, especially after he's been endorsed by The Rock, get my point, as being someone they want to center the future of the company around very soon. So, again, it's a toss-up, but if I was to say anybody's going over, knowing WWE, it has to be Ricochet. Velveteen Dream is all but set for the main roster. And, he could lose this match, still be over with the crowd. You move him up to SmackDown, maybe even Raw, and he'll be fine. Maybe not on Raw more per se, but possibly SmackDown, and he'll be fine. He will be absolutely fine. People will gravitate towards him instantly. So I think Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, he'll be all right, even in defeat. Ricochet is basically the kind of guy that, like I said, WWE wants to get behind, will get behind. And because of his endorsement by The Rock, of all people, yeah, I think Ricochet is going to be okay. I think Ricochet takes this one, knowing how WWE works their things. I think Ricochet takes this. I really do. I mean, I know Alex, the Lexman, said otherwise, but I think Ricochet, right now, WWE sees a lot of momentum in him, probably sees a lot of money in him. Who knows? And probably sees him potentially being that next Rock. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think Ricochet is going to lose this match. But again, my honest opinion is it's a toss up. Because if I was WWE, I wouldn't be able to choose. I would not be able to be like, well, yeah, he needs it, but he needs it. But to me, it'd be like, yeah, Velvet needs it because Ricochet is going to be fine. But yet Ricochet is endorsed and has all this momentum. To me, if I was WWE's booking team for the show, it'd be a toss up. It would almost be like a last moment decision, a last second decision, an almost on the fly kind of decision. That's how it would be for me with this matchup. But knowing how WWE's mentality works, knowing how that works, it's probably going to be Ricochet. Most definitely Ricochet. All right, next match for the NXT Women's Championship, Nikki Cross, Shayna Baszler. This, to me, as good as, as interesting and intriguing as this is, because basically Nikki Cross's character is a character that's like, beat on me all you want, I'm going to be happy about it. Nikki Cross, in a sense, is the toned down, I hate to say this, is the toned down version of Rosemary in Impact Wrestling. Because Rosemary, you can knock her down. It seems her character, especially when she comes back, and what they're building towards right now, seems to be the kind of character that you can knock her down, hit her, put her in so much pain, and she'll just bounce back up and say, "Is that all you got? Give me more. I love it." And that's how Nikki Cross is looked at. She's looked at as the more toned down version of Rosemary in Impact Wrestling, because she's the kind that loves pain. She's unpredictable. I mean, heck, according to Wikipedia, she came to save Dakota Kai from a beating, and after a post-match beating, came down to make the save, then grabbed Shayna Baszler's title, ran off with it. So, yeah, Nikki is kind of in that same scenario almost. But do I see her dethroning Shayna Baszler? No, I don't. I see her giving her one heck of a match, to where Shayna's basically got to be like, I got to knock this girl out just to beat her, or make her pass out just to beat her. That's what it's going to be. She's basically, the way they're positioning this is Baszler has got to either knock the heck out of Nikki Cross to stop her, just knock her completely out, KO, or she's got to put her in that submission she put Ember in, and basically have her pass out. That's what she's got to do. Now, one thing that the Lex Man said is he sees a curveball being thrown throughout this event. And this is one of the matches he says that curveball could be thrown. I'm not necessarily going to say that. Honestly, I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think we're going to get a curveball in any of these matches. I really don't. I think, if anything, we're going to get good matches, and that we're going to get some great matches that people are going to clamor to want to see more of. And that's about it. People are going to go home happy no matter what the outcomes, and that's it. That's pretty much what I see. But do I see this being a decent match for the women? Absolutely. Because basically, I do agree with the Lex Man on one thing. Baszler, if she's going to lose that belt, she's losing it to Dakota Kai. Why? Because Dakota Kai is being positioned right now to get over her fears of Shayna Baszler and beat her for that championship. Why? Because Shayna Baszler is basically a temporary NXT Women's Champion. Temporary. And what I mean is she's going to hold that belt to at least possibly NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, lose it to Dakota Kai, and maybe get a rematch, maybe lose the rematch. But even when she gets the rematch, TakeOver Brooklyn will be her last NXT live event. a live takeover event. Why? Because right now, the way I'm looking at it, they're positioning Baszler to come up to the main roster. They are. All this is right now is a filler for Baszler as champion. Give her something to do so that when they're ready, possibly at around SummerSlam, around at or after SummerSlam, she's going to be brought up. And that's the truth. But yeah, I do see her beating Nikki Cross in a physical match, and then thus losing the belt maybe at Takeover Brooklyn, most likely to Dakota Kai. And the one thing I've noticed about NXT is they always try to book long term. And since people have said Dakota Kai is like the next Bayley, or like the new version of Bayley in NXT, I would not be surprised that if they finally bring Dakota Kai up in the future, then she ends up feuding with Bayley. Dakota Kai, mark my words, is going to be the character, if they keep her the way she is, to go to the main roster and feud with Bayley, because she'll be the kind of character that would turn Bayley heel. Not Sasha. If they don't do it with Sasha, they'll do it with Dakota. You know, that's how I look at it. If they don't do it with Sasha, they'll do it with Dakota. So I do see Baszler winning and retaining in a physical match, but then I see her losing it possibly at Brooklyn. If they go with the Dakota Kai route. They might change their mind and go a different route. I have to wait and see. All right, next matchup. Aleister Black, Lars Sullivan. If there's any match that's going to get not necessarily a Roman Reigns treatment, but basically be like, this isn't NXT. This is not an NXT match. This is a WWE Raw or SmackDown Roman Reigns style like match, whatever. If there's any match that's going to get a mixed reaction, a 50-50, a legitimate 50-50 reaction to where people love it and they hate it, to where people like the individuals in it and they hate them, or they hate them, it's going to be the NXT title match. I'll give you a reason. People may love Aleister Black, but they know he's on his way out. They know he's on his way out of NXT into the main roster. Lars Sullivan, they may like him, they may like his character, but he's everything they don't like about WWE right now. He's basically, I am the next Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. That's what he is. His character and everything may be great, but he's everything they don't like. I mean, did you not see how people reacted to him during the ladder match at New Orleans? And when he came out and he was getting ready, and he was dominating, getting ready to position himself to go up the ladder, people were booing him. I mean, they gave him a good, decent mixed reaction, positive reaction when he came out. But when they saw him possibly on the verge of winning the North American title, they were booing it. Because basically to them, they do not want what they see as a WWE Vince McMahon guy winning an NXT championship. And this match here, as good as it might be, because it might surprise us, is going to get that mixed reaction people are used to having on the main, used to having when giving certain main roster matches, let's say Roman Reigns style matches and such, that treatment. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be good and it might get people excited throughout, but I definitely see it getting a mixed reaction. I really do. I really do. I just see it getting a mixed reaction. And in the end, I see Aleister Black winning. You might say, well, they've been positioning Lars Sullivan up to get to this moment. Look, if they're going to give it to Lars Sullivan, I would wait till Brooklyn to do it because that's a bigger stage. That's the night before SummerSlam. I would give it to him then if they're going to do that. But they're not. They're doing this to give Lars Sullivan something to do. They're doing this because they're giving Aleister Black something to do because they're setting Aleister Black up for the next major feud he's going to be in. And that feud starts right after this match ends. and that's against EC3. You don't tell me they bring in Ethan Carter III just to have him do all this, to face guys to just be on NXT television and all that. No. The way they've been positioning him, he's going to go after Aleister Black. Some people may say he's going to go after Gargano. I don't think so. If he goes after Gargano, fine. But I don't think they're positioning him for that. But it might tie in to Gargano. It might tie into him. But I don't see that. I don't see Johnny Gargano being EC3's next opponent. I see Aleister Black being the next one on EC3's radar. Now, will Black and Sullivan be a physical match? Absolutely. Will it be pretty? Absolutely not. But then again, we might be surprised. But I do see Aleister Black winning. I see something happen where he's going to roll up Sullivan and beat him that way. Or Sullivan's going to make some kind of mistake and he's going to get hit with a black mass or a blackout. And that's it. So I see Aleister Black winning. And also, like I said, I just see this crowd not turning on the match, but I just see him giving them that reaction to where basically it's going to be a reaction kind of similar to what you would see them giving a Roman Reigns match at times, even if he's in the ring with somebody that can give him a good match, take him to a decent match. That's what I see. That's what I see. So anyway, I see Aleister Black winning and retaining. And then afterwards, I see EC3 attacking him, not Gargano. And that sets up to Black and EC3 down the line for the NXT Championship, maybe in Brooklyn. But then again, that might tie into what I'm about to talk about right here. And that is the next match, which a lot of people feel is the main event because it's a Chicago street fight. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. This, along with Ricochet and Velveteen Dream, are going to be the matches that steal the show. They're going to be the matches people want to see and talk about the most. They're going to be like, depending on whatever direction they go in, people are going to be happy that they saw them. And they're going to say, yeah, this is what NXT is about. And like I said earlier, it's kind of funny that a year before, they were competing for the tag team titles. And it was at this very event, in this very town, that Ciampa turned his back on Gargano after the match. So basically, they've come a full year. Okay, they've come full circle, so they basically come a whole year full circle. So that's pretty impressive for WWE to do in today's day and age. So how do I see this match going? Well, some people might say, after what happened to Candice LeRae, they're pretty much setting up LeRae to turn on Gargano, even though they're legitimately married. Possibly, but I don't see that happening. Do I see Gargano beating Ciampa? He beat him when his opportunity to come back to NXT was on the line in an unsanctioned match. So him beating him here, I'm not sure. What I see happening, though, is something that has happened in street fights, and people may not like it, but if they do it the way I think they should, it's going to get people clamoring for a rematch. And that's basically allowing Johnny and Tommaso to go out there, beat the living hell out of each other, excuse my language, God, but beat the living hell out of each other to the point that both guys basically knock each other out. And I know you're thinking, well, they pulled that with AJ and Shinsuke. True. But that was later on in their matchup when it was starting to get good in the eyes of a lot of people. Here, this match is going to be good. It's got the story and everything. It's been a year in the making to come full circle all the way back to the same event where it started. So it only makes natural sense that the way this match ends, will be with both of them knocked completely out, exhausted, just done. And yeah, that's going to lead to a rematch, maybe on a regular episode of NXT, but you could actually dedicate a whole episode to that rematch and make that the final confrontation. You could do that. You could do that. It makes sense. The story is there. The story these two have is there. So, to me, it's a toss-up here, just like with Ricochet and Velvet. But if knowing WWE and how they work, especially, even if it's NXT, they're going to probably go that route where they both get to the point that from start to finish, they have thrown everything at each other, and the last thing they do is they do something that basically knocks each other out. And you both basically get both men done with. It's like to the point that it's not going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's it. It's basically going to be to the point that both men are so physically exhausted, they are done, they cannot move. And yeah, it may not be a popular decision, but you know what? It's going to make people clamor for a rematch. And you can dedicate a whole episode of NXT to that rematch. You can make it an Iron Man match with no disqualification if you had to. This is the kind of story that deserves it. So to me, it's a toss-up. And knowing WWE, this is one of the legitimate toss-ups because they could go with Gargano and have him completely win the feud and say, see, and basically have him be done with Ciampa. Well, they can have Ciampa go over and you get one more match out of that anyway. But I see them going the route where both guys are going to knock each other out. It's going to get to the point that both men can't continue, even if it's a Chicago street fight. And again, some people might say, well, they might have LeRae turn on Johnny. Possibly, but I don't think so. If LeRae was to play a role in this, she might be the reason both men get knocked out. Think about it. Think about it. The way she's positioned, the way they're positioning LeRae, is she's getting sick and tired of this. She's just like Eddie Edwards' wife, in a sense, in Impact. She's getting tired of Eddie's obsession with Sami Callihan. LeRae may not be in that same situation, may not be in an identical situation, but she's getting to the point where like enough's enough between you two. And she could basically go out there and knock both guys out somehow. She could do that. She could probably do that. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Again, this is a toss-up. I don't know who they're going to give it to. But if knowing WWE, I think the most logical direction they're going to go in is they're going to go the route where both guys are knocked completely out. They are just done, spent. And you have to have the EMTs, the medical staff come down, and that's how you end it. Because then you're going to basically want people may not be happy with the ending, but you're going to want them clamoring for one more match. And I think that one more match is going to be dedicated, is going to have a whole episode of NXT dedicated to it, and it might go for that 1 hour length. I'm just saying. With no disqualification. So, but yeah, that's pretty much about it. That's pretty much about it. When it comes to NXT Takeover Brooklyn. So the way I look at it, Undisputed Era retains, Aleister Black retains, Shayna Baszler retains, and as far as Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Ricochet Velveteen Dream, those are toss-ups. If I was in WWE's position, those would be toss-ups. But when it comes to Ricochet and Velvet, knowing WWE, they'll probably go Ricochet. But Johnny Gargano and Tommaso might be, if knowing WWE, even if it's NXT, they might go the route of having both men being able to continue. So that's how I look at it. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion on how I feel NXT TakeOver Chicago 2 will go. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. I mean, I know some people may not be agreeable with that because to them it's like, well, why would they want to end the show on a match? Why would they want to end the show the way you're describing? Quite frankly, excuse me there. Quite frankly, because I think they're going to. I really do. I think honestly they're going to do that. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's going to happen legitimately. I think it's going to happen. I really do. So, um, but yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on NXT Takeover Chicago 2 and what I believe is going to happen, how I see it happening, and possibly how I see WWE going with, what directions they're going to go with. Now that we got that out of the way, we get to Money in the Bank. We get Money in the Bank. And this is an interesting scenario because it's got twice the many matches as as the NXT Takeover, and it's supposed to go maybe 4 hours, 4.5. The matches I see they're probably going to give a lot of time to will be the Money in the Bank matches, the Last Man Standing match, and possibly Rollins and Elias. Those would be the only matches I think they're going to give time to. Excuse me. Those are the only matches I see they're going to give time to, especially if it's going to go 4.5 hours. But let's take a look at the matches here and see how they may go, how I feel they will go and should go, and how WWE may have them go. So the pre-show match, at least one of the pre-show matches, because we know they might add another, is the Bludgeon Brothers, Hopper and Rowan, defending the SmackDown Tag Team titles against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson and on the pre-show, on the kickoff show. WWE has been known to change titles on kickoff shows before, but I don't see them doing that here unless they want to capitalize on the success that's going on with New Japan and the Golden Elite and the Bullet Club, and capitalize on the success that pretty much they're getting with the interaction between the Golden Elite and the New Day at E3. If they want to capitalize on that, then they're probably going to give the belts to Gallows and Anderson, which I guess from a business standpoint would make sense. But I don't really know. I think logical sense would be the Bludgeon Brothers keep the belts and then they drop them to Sanity, because I think that's what they're setting them up for, is Sanity to show up and take the belts from them. So if I was to venture a guess here, if I was to predict who I think would go over, who I think is going to go over, it's going to be the Bludgeon Brothers. And I think WWE is going to go that same route because they want to set them up for Sanity. But then again, business-wise, from a business standpoint, I think they would go with Gallows. Basically, I think logically, and I think it's obvious, they're going to go with Bludgeon Brothers going over the club over Gallows and Anderson. But if they want to capitalize, but from a business perspective, if they want to look at it from a business term, and they want to capitalize on what's going on in E3 and everything, they might go with Gallows and Anderson. I don't know. But I think logical and safe choice for the kickoff show match would be the Bludgeon Brothers retaining. I really do. All right. Now, another pre-show match that may happen is for the Raw Tag Team titles. If they go this route, the Deleters of Worlds, Bray Wyatt, Matt Hardy, Woken Matt Hardy, against the B Team, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel. There's no doubt we'll probably get a moment in there with Bray standing in the ring face to face with Bo, which is going to ignite the crowd. But I will agree, I don't see the B Team winning just yet. I see the B Team probably winning the belts, most likely when we get close to SummerSlam or at SummerSlam, but I don't see them winning it here. If they give them to it here, then what was the point of bringing Bray and Matt together as a tag team? What was the point of the whole Bray Wyatt Matt Hardy feud. So I don't think Matt and Bray will drop the belts if the match gets added on against the B team. The B team's going to win them eventually, but it'll probably be in time. That's what I'm thinking. Be in time. I think if anybody's going to beat the deleters of worlds, it's going to be the Authors of Pain. That's what they're probably going to bring them back and send them up for, is the Authors of Pain. That's what I see. All right, so let's get on to the main card. The main card here has two options to open up with, or three options. One, the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We actually have four options to open up the show officially with. One of the ladder matches, either the women's or the men's. Seth Rollins, Elias, or Roman Reigns, Jinder Mahal. I hate to break this to you, Deluxe Man, but Jinder and Roman ain't opening the show. I might be wrong, and that might be the smart move to make, especially being in a hardcore city that's going to have to endure 4 to 4.5 hours of programming, of main card programming, in addition to maybe the 30 minutes or so that you give the pre-show, 30 minutes, an hour or so you give the pre-show. So basically, the smart idea would be to put Jinder and Reigns at the beginning, at the start. Especially for a crowd that knows they're going to be dealing with about 5 hours of programming, for 5 hours of show. That would make sense, but this is WWE. And Roman Reigns is Vince McMahon's chosen one. And Vince McMahon ain't going to have Roman Reigns open up Money in the Bank. He looks at Roman Reigns and it's like, Roman ain't going to win because Roman's going to be second to last on the card. Yeah, because this is 2018. Yeah. I rest my case. You know what I'm saying? So I think the most likely ones to open up the card is, well, if there's anything WWE will take from NXT influential-wise, is to start the show off hot. And the best way to start it off would be Seth Rollins and Elias. I know you're thinking they can't. Oh, yes, they can. Here's the thing. Elias has shown signs of being good in the ring when he's with the right person. Seth Rollins, hands down, is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. And if not in the company. So it would make logical sense that you want to get people on their feet. This is the match you do it. If you want to start off with one of the ladder matches, that's fine too. But I think, honestly, they are going to go with the Intercontinental Championship because that is a match that will get people excited. It may not be the triple threat match that we got at Mania, but it will be decent enough to get people on their feet and excited. Now, what direction do I think they're going to go with this one? Well, here's the thing. Seth has a lot of momentum right now. He has brought recognition back to the Intercontinental title, just like The Miz did. Elias has a lot of momentum right now as well. People are getting behind his character. Even if he's a heel, he tells them basically to shut the hell up. Excuse my language, God. But who do you go with? Well, if what Deluxe Man is hoping happens, and they have Seth Rollins go after the Beast, Brock Lesnar, and so that he could add another notch to his accolades of being not only the King Slayer, but the Beast Slayer, then yeah, no doubt Elias has to go over. Because you can't have Seth be the Intercontinental Champion if he's going to go after Brock, unless you want to do title for title. So logical sense would be if you're going to send Seth after Brock, Elias needs the championship so he can go on to somebody else. But if you're going to go the route a lot of people fear you're going to go with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the fourth time, then Seth Rollins is going to retain. So depending on what they do for SummerSlam, if the logical booking is what I think, if what is being reported is a reality, then Seth Rollins is going to retain. To me, it's another toss-up. This is the first toss-up for MITB, as far as I'm concerned, because both men on huge momentum streaks right now. It would be stupid to destroy, kind of temporarily put a brick wall in front of them, or have one of those come to a screeching halt. But if I'm WWE, it's what to me. If I'm in WWE's positioning, it's one of those matches that, like I mentioned, with Takeover and Ricochet and Velvet. It's one of those matches that's almost like a last moment, on the fly kind of decision. So to me, it's a toss-up. But knowing WWE, if they're determined to go the route they're planning to for SummerSlam for the fourth time, then Seth Rollins is going to win. That might lead to another matchup between the two going into SummerSlam, but I don't think Elias is going to be fighting Seth at SummerSlam. As a matter of fact, I think I know who will be. I have a feeling I know who's going to be, and he dubs himself Glorious. Kind of catch my drift there? So yeah, to me it's a toss-up. But if WWE is planning to do what everybody's fearing they're going to do, Seth is going to retain. No doubt. Seth is going to retain. All right, next match. Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn. I don't think this is going to be a quick squash. I think this might be fairly decent for at least 5 minutes. And then it's going to end with Bobby Lashley beating Sami Zayn. Because I think right now, it all depends on what that creative staff wants to do with Bobby. And I think honestly, right now, look, I'm just going to come out and say it. I think honestly, right now, the Raw creative team, you may not like the decisions they're making. You may feel that Raw has become phoned in, and that is true. I mean, heck, you take a look at the attendance this past week, and you could say, oh, that's due to E3 and people wanted to stay home and watch that. Well, whatever the case is, here's the thing. I think right now, Raw, just like SmackDown was last year, and somewhat was this year, is in a transitional period behind the scenes. Because you'll notice SmackDown is being like SmackDown of over a year ago before Road Dogg came on board. And now it's back, and now Raw is becoming what SmackDown was last year when Road Dogg was in charge of that, or helping to work with that. So I think honestly it's in a transitional period. Because Road Dogg still helps on SmackDown, but he's working alongside Ryan Ward and a few others that are probably helping him out with the storytelling and how things should be written, how certain wrestlers, characters, and stories should go. The big difference between the two staffs is one's a staff consisting of former wrestlers who should think and know how to run things, and the other is done by people that are probably fans of the business and basically writing it the way the fans would write it, or the way they know fans would want it. So I think right now what's going on is a transitional period to where sooner or later someone's going to step in. It might be P.S. Hayes. It might be somebody's going to step in there and finally straighten that ship out behind the scenes. But that's why Raw right now is in the rut it's in. It's going through a freaking transitional period. And sooner or later, when that rut that shit behind the scenes to get straightened out, guys like Bobby Lashley are going to be put on the right path. But right now, I see Lashley and Zayn having about a 5-minute match, 6-minute match. Goes a little longer, I'd be surprised. But I see Bobby Lashley retaining, and winning, and I think that's a legitimately agreement all across the board. Next match, because in the middle of the match, so what about 2 matches in? The third match on the card is going to be a Money in the Bank. No, not Money in the Bank. It's going to be Daniel Bryan, Big Cass. That's going to be the third match on the card. I know people don't want to hear that, but the third match is going to lead into almost like a break, if you will, lead into one of the Money in the Bank matches. You need something that's going to keep people excited for that. And I think the most logical sense is going to be Big Cass, Daniel Bryan. Do I see this being a pretty match? No. Do I see Daniel being able to carry Big Cass to a fairly decent match? Yes. Do I see Big Cass winning? This is Chicago. Daniel Bryan is beloved. He's like CM Punk's twin brother in this area. So do I see him winning? Knowing WWE, knowing the booking decisions? No. I don't. I hate to say that. I love Daniel Bryan. Everybody else loves Daniel Bryan. But this is WWE. And pretty much you're going to do to Daniel Bryan the one thing that's going to get that Chicago crowd to hate on you probably more so than anything. But then again, the plan is to give Cass a lot of major heat. And yeah, he's been getting that. He's done a full 180, 360, whatever you want to call it. And it's become one of the most, I wouldn't say just yet. I wouldn't say this just yet, but it's become one of the most irritating heels on SmackDown, if not in WWE right now. And I think the best way WWE wants to get Big Cass over and I think the best way WWE sees getting Big Cass over, sorry for that, from being irritating to just despised and hated, and you just want to see someone knock his teeth down his throat and beat the living crap out of him. Having him go over Daniel Bryan in Chicago would do it. It would do it. It's like you want this guy to be a heat magnet. You want him to have that X-Pac heat. You want him to have that heat to where I hope you rot and you know where. This will do it. You have him beat Daniel in Chicago, it'll do it. Instantaneously, he's a heat magnet right after that. Now, do I see it happening? Absolutely. Do I see WWE doing it? Well, kind of. Remember, the writing and booking staff between both shows is different. So they might say, you know what, we don't want a hostile environment. Let's have Daniel go over and show that Big Cass went after him for nothing. That no matter what Big Cass does, he can't beat Daniel. And that might work. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, because if they're positioning Daniel to feud with The Miz, and whether that's for a championship or just to get this thing with Miz finally off the ground, he's going to need momentum, or at least a reasoning. And some people have said Miz coming out and interfering would be the reason, and that might work. And that might work, honestly, when you think about it, because Miz right now is getting cheered. You can have him act, heelish and all that, but he's getting legitimately people behind him. People love him, despite his arrogant attitude. But guess what? You want to make sure he stays a heel. You want the people to turn on him at the drop of a dime, or just like that, have him interfere in this matchup, and there you go. He, along with Big Cass, will become instant heat magnets because of what they did to Daniel. And then you can have Daniel pay it back forward later on in the night. I'm just saying. But to me, honestly, I think Big Cass is going to go over. It's the most logical thing to do. And yeah, that's my prediction. But knowing WWE, they may go the same route. But the booking staff at SmackDown may decide otherwise. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. But legitimately, it works out either way but honestly, having Miz interfere might be a great option too, because like I said, Miz is getting cheered right now, but you don't want people to support the Miz. He's supposed to be a heel, so why not have him do something that's going to give him back that heat? That's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying there. But yeah, in my opinion, I see Big Cass winning this match, and this feud probably continuing up until at least a edition of SmackDown, to where it's going to end and Daniel will win there. Okay. Next match. I think honestly, this is going to be the next match. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Ember Moon, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Lana, Naomi, Sasha Banks. With the winner being able to cash in on the brand's champion. Let me address that for a moment. I did a video on this before. I'm going to say it again. WWE, what the heck are you thinking? Can you be that blind? When you allow the Money in the Bank winner, man and woman, to be able to cash in on whatever champion they want, it brings excitement and viewership to your program. Not allowing them to do so and only regulating the winners to cash in on their brand's champion doesn't accomplish the same feeling and the same unpredictable feeling, I should say, as to where the winner could come and show up anywhere and cash in on either the SmackDown Women's Champion, Raw Women's Champion, WWE Champion, or Universal Champion. You taking away that option is dumb. D-U-M-B. Dumb. And you know it. Everybody watching this video live or post-live knows that. It is dumb. It's a stupid decision. Look, you want people to tune into Raw, right? You want people to be excited for Raw. You're taking away one of the potential ways of doing that. I mean, think about this. If Charlotte Flair wins Money in the Bank, wouldn't it be more exciting for all of a sudden her music to hit the next night on Raw? And she comes out and shows whoever the Raw Women's Champion is that, hey, I got the briefcase. You never know if it's going to be you. Wouldn't it be something if Alexa Bliss's music hits on SmackDown and she does the same thing and says, hey, you never know if it's going to be you? Wouldn't it make sense if you get the idea? It makes sense. It gets people to tune in. And heck, at the same time, it keeps people's eyes glued to your product because you don't know if that person's going to cash in the night they came out or not. It gets people invested. And yet you want to take away that decision by only having the winners cash in on the brand's champions. Stupid. It is downright stupid. It's one of the dumbest decisions any company can make. Any sports entertainment company, that is. Anyway, what do I think about this match? I think it's going to be good. I think the women are going to bring it this time. I think, honestly, when you think about it, I look at this as being an improvement over last year's Women's and Money in the Bank, because apparently you're not going to have a James Ellsworth unless you're not going to have someone like James Ellsworth show up and literally screw over the match and thus, as some people would say, officially become the first winner because he's the one that took down the briefcase and dropped it to Carmella. No, you don't have that, hopefully. So, how do I see this match going? Well, there's a lot of choices. But I think the Lex Man pointed it out, and I think all of us pointed it out. You only got 3 logical choices: Charlotte, Becky, or Natalya. Now, people say, now one thing the Lex Man mentioned when he did his NXT Takeover preview is the curveball. If there was to be a curveball thrown by WWE this weekend between both events, the women's match would be it. The Money in the Bank matches, basically, both of them would be it. Because I think the curveball that they could throw for the women would be either for Ember Moon or Sasha Banks to win. Those would be your wild card picks, your curveballs. Like all of a sudden, one of them brings down the briefcase, and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think they were going to go with that person." It'd be a complete surprise. It would throw off. It's like if you had any money running on it, it would throw your bets out the windows. So to me, when I look at these 2 Money in the Bank matchups, I think these are the ones where the curveball is going to get thrown. And I think, honestly, the curveball choices would be Sasha or Ember. Just saying. But the 3 logical choices are Natalya, Charlotte, and Becky. And if I was to go with a winner, because both could lead to some intriguing storylines, one, in fact, will lead to an intriguing storyline, I go with Natalya. I think Natalya is the most logical one to win this. Because if they're positioning her to turn her back on Ronda and then show that she's been aligned with Stephanie McMahon the whole time to get back at Ronda for what happened at WrestleMania, there you go. And you might even want, and of course, they might throw in the jealous factor, like, hey, I've been here this long, and yet you're doing this and that, and da-da-da. So, there you go. Now, would that basically ruin the surprise of the women's championship match? Absolutely. No doubt. But that all depends on the positioning of the card. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens. They might go a route that we've seen before, but still be satisfactory in story-wise. So, honestly, I know the Lex Man and a lot of others want Becky to win because she needs it the most, but they could still do what they want to do with Becky even if she doesn't. So I'm going to go with Natalya because she's the safest choice, and I think that's what WWE is going to go with anyway. So I think Natalya is going to win this year, and I'll get into how this is all going to lead to something with Ronda. Okay, so after that, we get Carmella versus Asuka. Yes, we get another women's match to follow. Carmella versus Asuka. At first, it looked like basically, honestly, Carmella was being set up storyline-wise to lose to Asuka. You know, get so confident and cocky that she knows, hey, I'm better than Asuka. All I have to do is just hit her with a finger and go, beep, whoop, you're done. That's it. You know, she's being built up that way. But the way they are building, like I said, the way they're building up Carmella is, like I just said, she's getting cocky, storyline-wise, she's getting cocky to the point that she feels she can beat Asuka like that. Like, Asuka's not going to be a threat. That all she can do is go, beep, do a finger poke of doom in Asuka, and Asuka just falls back and she wins. But after this past Tuesday, that might get thrown out the window. It may not be a quick squash and Asuka's champion. It might be a competitive match, and Carmella might still retain. But this is Chicago, and Carmella is the kind of superstar that will get booed because she's not a legitimate wrestler. She's a diva in reality, in the eyes of the Chicago crowd. So if I'm WWE, This is one of those things to where the booking favors Asuka, but it doesn't go the way fans would hope. Here's what I'm talking about. I think legitimately Asuka wins, but it's going to be by disqualification. Hear me out. This match is going to end in disqualification, and if WWE does what I think they're going to do, it's going to get restarted almost immediately. Hear me out. The way they're positioning Carmella right now in her alliance with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics, as well as Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, to be this group of 5 women known as Invincible. I don't know. The way they're positioning her, maybe, this is my opinion, she's going to have one of those 4, she's going to have 2 of those 4 women interfere, help her get disqualified, and yes, Asuka wins the match, but Carmella wins the belt. And they could have Carmella start to walk out, point to her head, go like, see, I may have lost, but I kept my title. I outsmarted you. But then you could have Paige's music hit. And Paige can come out and be like, oh, no, we're not doing this. We're not pulling that. This belt's going to mean something. So you're going to go back in there and win. And oh, by the way, your friends, your buddies are banned from ringside. And oh, by the way, now if you even attempt to get disqualified or counted out, you'll lose the belt that way. I can see WWE doing that because in a way it would show that Carmella thinks she's outsmarted Asuka. That it'll make it look like Carmella thinks she's outsmarted Asuka to the point that she'll lose the match but retain the title. But the positioning to the point to where you can have something like Paige come out and do exactly what I just said. And I can see that. I can see them doing that. It makes logical sense for them to go that route, honestly. It makes logical sense. Now, could they just go the route of they'll have a okay match and Asuka wins in the end to, at the point to where Carmella starts to get a little too cocky. Maybe she gets a bit of offense. She gets too cocky. And then Asuka takes advantage and beats her. Yeah, they can do that. Because you got to remember, this is a different writing staff than what they have at Road Dogg. Even if Road Dogg's still helping out a bit, he doesn't have as much say anymore. It's mostly Ryan Ward and whoever else. And these are the kind of people that if they worked in NXT during the time Asuka was there, are going to say, let's put it on Asuka because she'll draw. People want to see her as champion. So, and especially with the fact that with SmackDown going to Fox next year, they're going to want a champion that, people will tune in to see. And that makes it more attractive to a company like Fox to want to say, oh, okay, cool. We'll look at like, oh, okay, cool. This looks interesting. Let's check it out. So yeah, I mean, I look at that as, I look at it basically like this. I think Asuka's going to go over, but knowing how WWE likes to Vince Russo some things, even if they still go the route people want them to go, I see it happening the way I mentioned. So I see Asuka winning, not once, but twice, by disqualification and then by pinfall or submission. I do see that. So, but then to Chicago, WWE likes to screw with this town. Knowing it's a hardcore town, they like to screw with them. Just saying, folks. I'd be keeping an eye on that. I'll say this though. Oh, okay, I'll say this. The Lexman, you pointed out something about Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal. Here's what should happen. Even if they still have one more ladder match to go, you have the crowd start to walk out if Carmella beats Asuka. If they go the route where she loses to Asuka, but she retains the belt, and they don't do anything after that, that's when the people need to start walking out because they're like, okay, fine. Now, because basically this crowd, this being a hardcore crowd, will be like, okay, WWE, we see what you're doing. We see what you're doing. You know what? We don't need this. We're out of here. Because because basically that to them will be the writing on the wall. Like, okay, we see what you're doing. You're trying to screw with us. You know, because they would see that. They legitimately would. Yeah, I haven't watched all of the E3, Jordan, but I saw some of the things, and I do like what I saw. But anyway, like I said, that's when they should start walking out. Is when WWE, if they decide to go that route, like I said, and they don't do anything, that's when they should start walking out. Legitimately. Or at least start to do so to kind of send a message of, okay, we know what you're doing. We know the crap you're trying to pull. So, but I still think they're going to go with Asuka either way. Next match is going to be Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles. No, I'm just kidding. I think, honestly, the next match is going to be the men's ladder match. I really do. Either the men's ladder match is going to be the next one, or it's going to be AJ and Shinsuke. You know what? This is Money in the Bank. Yeah, I'm going to go with the men's ladder match being the next one. This one is kind of a toss-up. You got Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, The Miz, Rusev, Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and one of the New Day members, possibly Big E or Kofi. I wouldn't be surprised to put Xavier in there just for the fact that he's got a lot of momentum and publicity going his route or going his way right now. But who wins? Well, let's be honest. As much as WWE has made it look like Braun's going to win this match, he's not. Braun Strowman's not going to win. He may dominate most of the match, but of course, this being a ladder match, they're going to get to a point to where Braun is going to get beat down with a bunch of ladders, a bunch of strikes. I mean, let's be honest. You have Joe, Balor, Owens, and Rusev. Mostly Joe and Balor. And possibly Big E. You got, okay, power-wise, from a power standpoint, you got Joe, Rusev, and Big E. These guys can use the power to help knock Braun Strowman down. From agility-wise and basically sacrificing the body-wise, Owens, Balor, and The Miz, and Bobby Roode. Basically, you got three power guys that are going to, if E's in there, they're going to take Braun down using their power, at least try to. And then you're going to have all the high flyer guys, or guys that can do some high flying stuff to, when they need to keep him down. And I do see him getting buried under a bunch of ladders, and then maybe doing the rise up, push all the ladders out of the way, like, holy crap, this guy's unstoppable kind of deal. But do I see him winning? If they're already projecting him winning the match, if they're already projecting that, then I don't think we have to worry about Lesnar Reigns 4. Because they're going to go, because here's the thing, if WWE goes with Braun Strowman, it's going to be Braun Lesnar at SummerSlam, because that's the bigger match. And people would rather see that than Lesnar Reigns. But if sources are reporting the fact that the women get the Raw one and the men get the SmackDown one, it's going to be up in the air there. But do I see this match being a match of the night? Absolutely. In fact, I think both ladder matches are going to deliver, and both have the potential to be matches of the night. They both have that chance to steal the show. But who do I see winning? Well, if a SmackDown guy is supposed to win this, I think logically you go with The Miz. Miz has been on freaking fire. He's been on fire. You go with The Miz. But then again, we go back to what I talked about with Daniel Bryan and Cass. I predict Big Cass is going to beat Daniel. That way you give him that legitimate heat that makes him go from being irritating to despised to getting the X-Pac heat to the, hey, I hope to see you burn and you know where kind of heat. And then if you want to associate Cass with the Miz and you want to go that Miz Daniel Bryan route and you want to get that heat back on Miz, you want to prevent people from cheering him and you want them to boo him and give him that heat as well, that similar heat, if not the same heat Cass would get, then him costing Daniel Bryan this match with Big Cass would do it. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you could have Daniel Bryan come out during the match, get a huge reaction. This distracts Miz to the point that Miz is taken out of the match. It makes sense because Daniel Bryan will basically be costing the Miz a chance to be Mr. Money in the Bank. So then who gets it if Miz doesn't? Because Miz would be the logical choice, and he'd be a 2-time Money in the Bank winner. Well, Rusev's on a momentum streak with Rusev Day, so that might make sense. Finally give him the big push. Samoa Joe. I'll be honest with you. I want Samoa Joe. Not because I've met the guy, because he needs it. And if WWE is going to focus SmackDown around him, you give it to Samoa Joe. You give it to Samoa Joe. But then again, you got the New Day. And if Big E's in there, or Xavier or Kofi, and the attention and momentum they're getting right now outside of the company, that's helping the company have more of a positive look, who knows? If Big E's in there, give it a Big E. He's been working his butt off for the past, 5 years? Give it to him. Let him have a run. Who knows? Honestly, though, if I was to pick a winner, my first logical choice would be The Miz. I think it's obvious. But my other second logical choice is Samoa Joe. Because I look at it this way. If WWE is booking Miz to possibly interfere in Daniel's match, and thus Miz gets that heat, that legitimate, I hope you get the hell beat out of you kind of heat. So, sorry for my language, God. That kind of, I hope you get the heck beat out of you kind of heat by Daniel Bryan for costing him his match. And then Daniel comes back and makes sure he doesn't win. And then Samoa Joe, is probably the most logical of the choice because, again, the Miz obvious. All money betting, all Vegas money bets are on the Miz right now. Joe, though, I think is the second most logical choice. And I'm sorry if I kind of rambled there for a minute, kind of lost a little track. But Joe would be the most logical choice, second logical choice, because think of the matches he could have with AJ, with Shinsuke, whoever the champion is. Think about that. Samoa Joe is Mr. Money in the Bank. If they don't give it to The Miz, give it to Joe. Those are the two most logical choices, in my opinion. But, as I mentioned with the women, they can always throw you a curveball. And I think the two curveballs that they can throw us, Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens. Those would be the curveballs right there. Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode. Because you wouldn't see it coming, and both men could really benefit from it. But, again, like I said, logical choice, top choice, The Miz. But if they're going to have Miz interfere with Daniel's match, and thus in turn have Daniel come out and cost Miz this match, then Samoa Joe. But Miz and Joe are the two logical choices to win this, in my opinion. The two curveball predictions would be Roode and Owens, in my opinion. Okay, now let's get to the 3 main event matches. Yeah, you heard me. Main event. The first match It's going to be Nia Jax, Ronda Rousey. Now, it's being projected that Ronda is going to win. We don't know if it's going to be a quick match. It's going to be a slow pacing match. It ain't going to be pretty, but then again, Ronda has surprised us before. But that was in a tag team match, not a one-on-one match. So we'll have to wait and see what we get here. But all money bets are on Ronda Rousey. So yeah, Ronda is definitely the safe bet to go over. And then this is where the cash-in occurs. The cash-in will occur. Natalya will come out, congratulate her friend, do that traditional raise the hand up like this, and then as soon as Ronda turns around, she's going to deck her with the briefcase. And then you'll probably have Stephanie McMahon come out, smiling and all that and gloating, and then tell the referee to ring the bell. Natalya's cashing in, and Natalya's going to pin or put a knocked out Ronda in the sharpshooter or pin her, and Natalya is going to become Raw Women's Champion. Thus, it continues the rivalry and feud between Ronda and Stephanie, and it starts the path to Ronda and Natalya at SummerSlam, and thus it'll probably lead to Ronda and Stephanie either at SummerSlam or at Survivor Series, with possibly Ronda beating Stephanie and ousting her out of WWE from a storyline perspective. Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense right there. So, yeah, I think the safe bet is Ronda winning. But then I see a screw job happening to her, a betrayal, a screw job. It's all leading to her and Stephanie going. I mean, be honest, folks. This is all leading towards her and Stephanie facing off one-on-one down the line, with possibly Stephanie's storyline WWE career on the at stake, which she'll probably lose, or most likely will lose. So there you go. So yeah, Ronda's probably the safest choice. It is. Unless they go and have Nia go over her in the match by having Stephanie come out and screw her. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think the logical and most safe choice would be Ronda Rousey. And then, like I said, it's gonna be a domino effect that leads down the line to Ronda and Steph one-on-one. Then the next match, the second to last match, is not going to be AJ and Shinsuke. It'll be Roman and Jinder. And this will be the piss break for WWE's Money in the Bank match. This will be the piss break. Get up, go get yourself a beer at the concession stand break. This will be that match to where people will get up, not walk out, but say, hey, you know what? It's time to go get me a drink. Hold on. This is literally what they'll do. They'll get up. Get themselves a drink at the concession stand, maybe a hot dog, maybe go use a facility, and then sit back down to watch the rest of this match finish up with Roman Reigns going over Jinder so that Roman Reigns can have his momentum built for Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. That's legitimately what they're going to do if this is the second to last match, because then after this match is over and Roman Reigns goes over Jinder, unless they surprise us and have Jinder go over Roman, and thus you have another match at Extreme Rules under Extreme Rules stipulations, which knowing WWE, they might just do anyway. Yeah, unless they do that, Roman Reigns will go over. But then again, they might have Jinder go over, and like I said, they might give us another match at freaking Extreme Rules with the winner facing Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Go figure. But then we get to the main event. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. Last man standing. In this match here, as far as singles matches during this show goes, this might be the match single-wise that will steal the show. If this is the final matchup between Shinsuke and AJ for a while, this has got to deliver. This has got to be the match that's like, yes, this is what we know they're capable of. Let them do it. Let them go out there and shine, and let them show us what they can do. And you're doing it in front of Chicago. A freaking hardcore crowd that will chant CM Punk in your face during matches if they feel like it. And they'll probably do that during Jinder and Roman. Or maybe even throughout the night, just to rub it in WWE's face, like CM Punk beat you. I'm just saying. So, AJ and Shinsuke, I think is going to be good. It'll be the right match to close out the show because it's in the front of the right crowd to do so. It's got the right stipulation to at least put a nail in the coffin of this chapter of the rivalry. But who do I see winning? Honestly, neither man. Because here's what's going to happen. Both men are going to get to a point. Sorry for the pause there because I was trying to think of what I was going to say. But both men are going to get to a point in this match if they're allowed to go if they're allowed to go and do what we know they can do. They're going to get to a point to this match where all of a sudden you're going to hear someone's music hit. And if you hear a awesome, Miz is going to interject himself in the match. And it's going to make a triple threat last match. Basically, what I see happening is you're going to get to a point to this match where both men are going to be so tired, if they allow them to do what they can do, that you're going to hear either an awesome blare out in the background. Miz is going to come out with the briefcase to cash in, and that should make it a triple threat last man standing match. Or you're going to hear a Samoa Joe theme breaking out, and you're going to have a freaking last man standing triple threat dream match right there in the middle of that matchup. And what's going to happen is whoever the briefcase winner is, if they're from SmackDown, which right now sources say they will be, that person's going to walk out not just the Money in the Bank briefcase winner, but as the WWE champion. WWE knows what they're doing, folks. They know what they're doing. They'll give you what you want, but they're not going to give you it all the way. They're going to give you just a tease of it. They're just going to give you a sliver of it. They might give you, okay, I'll put it this way. They'll give you a full-course meal, but it'll be the full-course meal you won't be able to finish. Because basically, that's when an interjection is going to come into play. And this will lead to two things at SummerSlam. I know we got Extreme Rules, so it might lead to a one-on-one match. But this is going to lead to two things after that to SummerSlam. And you know what those are? If we're going to get Reigns and Lesnar, you need something better to counter that. You need something better to really counter that. And what you're either going to get is a fatal four-way for the WWE Championship between The Miz, AJ, Shinsuke, and Daniel, or you're going to get a triple threat match between Joe, Shinsuke, and AJ, and thus be WWE's answer 13 years later to the unbreakable three-way between Daniels, Joe, and AJ from TNA. I'm just saying. I think logically that makes a lot of sense if you want to set up the WWE Championship match for SummerSlam and you want it to be a more positive counter to what Raw is going to give us with Reigns and Lesnar. Those two options right there work. And the way you set it up here at Money in the Bank makes all the sense in the world. So, with that said, again, who? Oh, so again, with that said, let's go over who I think is going to win. I think, honestly, Big Cass goes over Daniel Bryan. Seth Rollins will retain over Elias, even though Elias could really benefit from it if they're going to put, even though Elias could benefit from it, especially if they're going to send Seth after Brock, but right now that doesn't seem like it. Bobby Lashley, after maybe 5-6 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, will beat Sami Zayn. Pre-show wise, I see the Bludgeon Brothers beating the Club, and if they have the Raw Tag Team title match, I see the Deleter of Worlds. The Deleters of Worlds, I should say, defeating the B Team. I see Carmella losing to Asuka, not once but twice, because we'll get a restart possibly. I see Ronda Rousey beating Nia and then getting screwed over and betrayed by her friend Natalya, who I believe is going to win Money in the Bank, the Women's Money in the Bank match, and thus reveal her alliance with Stephanie McMahon, because she'll be behind this, because she'll come out, have the referee ring the bell, because Natalya will cash in. There you go. Or she might just come out and help Nia win. You get the point. So yeah, I think Ronda's going to win, and then she's going to lose because of a screw job. The two curveball picks I pick in that match for the women would be Ember Moon and Sasha, and the two logical choices though would be Natalya and Becky, more so Natalya. AJ and Shinsuke. I'll get into that get back to that in a moment. The men's Money in the Bank, I said two logical choices are The Miz and Samoa Joe. The two curveball choices could be Bobby Roode and Kevin Owens. And then AJ and Shinsuke, and then getting to Roman and Jinder. This would be the match. It's going to be the piss break match. People getting up, going to get a drink, going to the bathroom, getting a beer, whatever, coming back to see the ending of it. And I see Roman winning this match and getting ready to be pushed up more so for his rematch with Brock. Or I see Jinder winning, and thus we get another match at Extreme Rules under Extreme Rules stipulations. And then we get to AJ and Shinsuke, which I believe neither man's going to walk out with the title, because whoever the Money in the Bank winner is, whether it's The Miz or Samoa Joe, the music's going to hit in the middle of the match. It's going to turn into a three-way last man standing match, and basically the result of that will be The Miz or Samoa Joe walking out with the championship instead of AJ and Shinsuke. Thus, the winner of the men's Money in the Bank match will not only be the briefcase winner, but they'll also become WWE champion in the same night. That will lead to a possible one-on-one rematch with AJ down the line. And then that will probably lead to either a match at SummerSlam which will either be a fatal four-way for the WWE Championship with The Miz, Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke, and AJ, which is the most logical choice to counter Reigns and Lesnar. Or you get Joe, Shinsuke, and AJ, which would be WWE's answer 13 years later to the unbreakable three-way that TNA had between AJ, Joe, and Daniels. So those are just my thoughts, my predictions on how I see things going for WWE Money in the Bank, as well as previously for WWE's NXT TakeOver Chicago 2. Hope you guys all enjoyed that. A little rumpus there, or a little discussion. I know it went long for a little bit, but hey, when you're doing live streams and live predictions and thoughts, they go on for quite some time. And I think a lot of people know that. Now, let me check something here for a second. Let me check something if it pops up. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now. This probably almost wouldn't have happened because of the fact that Windows did another update last night. I don't know what's going on with the Windows update, but I'll probably talk about that soon. So, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say, folks. So thank you all for tuning in live. Thank you for the comments and all that. Thank you all for tuning in post-live after it's been uploaded. Hope to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know what you guys think down below. The Lexman, OTR Central, I'd love to hear from you guys. So let me know what you all think down below. Do you think I'm right on point with some of my thoughts and predictions and stuff of how I believe things will go for both shows, or how I think things will go for both shows? Sorry about that. Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear from you guys. And I am out. So take care. God bless. I am done.